Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, entitled as Dhyana Yoga, text number 31 onwards. In the previous section, we saw Krishna is explaining the process of Dhyana Yoga in great detail, the symptoms of someone who has achieved perfection in such yoga. That's what is being discussed now in the previous few verses, and now in these verses also that we are trying to discuss today. Text 31. Sarvabhuta sthitam yo mam bhajati ekattvamastitah sarvatha vartamanopi sayogi mai vartate. Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances. So Krishna is saying somebody who has attained perfection in Dhyana Yoga. What are his symptoms? He explained in previous few verses how he is able to see the Lord in every living being and in every place. And the Lord also never forgets such a person. And such a person, then the Lord says, always remains in me in all circumstances. That doesn't mean that he enters the body of the Lord. It means he remains within my energy, within my shelter, within my vision. And I am personally supervising, orchestrating his life. The more we think of the Lord, the more he thinks of us. So it's very, very simple. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamiham. In the third chapter, Krishna has already mentioned, as you approach me, I reward you accordingly. So if we seek his attention, he will give us attention. If we don't, we will stay light years away from him. But a person who is able to absorb his mind in continuously remembering the Lord, to the degree of remembrance, to that very degree, the Lord will also take care of him. And this is the greatest position to have in the world, within the creation, to have the personal protection of the Lord. And a person who remembers the Lord on a regular basis, please understand, in that person's life, many calamities, tragedies that have to come because of his past karma's destiny, they can be averted. They won't be able to touch him, they won't be able to harm him. So the safest position to be in is the position of a devotee of the Lord. And here, how to come to that stage, this chapter talks about the process of Dhyana Yoga, the intricacies, the intricate process of Dhyana Yoga. But what if we manage to achieve perfection after going through all those hurdles? This is what we can await. This is what we can expect. The Lord's personal intervention and protection in our life. Text 32. Atmaupa Yena sarvatra samam pashyati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukkham sayogi paramo matah. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all living beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. So, who is a perfect yogi? Again, Krishna is saying, one who understands his true self, that he is a spiritual being, and he sees others also as parts and parcels of God, and remains equal in happiness and distress. And he is happy in others' happiness and is distressed in others' distress. A person who is not in this consciousness, generally we see people are very happy when somebody else is suffering or somebody has gone through some setback, loss. Many people may not say it, but many might feel that subtle happiness within. And when somebody is happy, they feel envious, jealous. But a person who has realized his own true self, who has achieved the perfection of reunion with the Lord, the perfection of yoga, Such a person sees everyone equally, and he's happy in their happiness, he's distressed in their distress. So after hearing all this, now Arjuna has a very valid, you can say, doubt. So Krishna, after he explains this entire science of Dhyana Yoga in the first, we can say, almost 32 verses, and after explaining the symptoms of one who has perfected this, now Arjuna has some doubts. Text 33, Arjuna Uvacha Soayam Yogastaya Proktah Samyena Madhusudana Itsyaham na pashyami Chanchalatvat Stitim Sthiram. Arjuna has a very practical point here. He says, O Madhusudana. Now again he is using the word Madhusudana for Krishna. Why? Because Madhu is the name of a demon, who was the name of a demon killed by Krishna at the beginning of the creation. And doubts are also compared to demons. So Arjuna wants Krishna to destroy the demon of doubt that has arisen in his mind, because Krishna is very expert at killing demons. So therefore the name Madhusudana. Arjuna says, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Now doesn't it make sense? Because one of the most important aspects of Dhyana Yoga is complete control of the mind. But the mind is restless, unsteady, turbulent. So therefore this system of yoga, going to a secluded place, sitting on an asana neither too high nor too low, staring at the tip of your nose, completely withdrawing your mind and senses from everything else, and having an equal vision towards everyone, and thus becoming purified, all that, how is it practical? Because the mind is not in control. So Arjuna has a very valid point. And then in text number 34, he uses 4 adjectives to describe the nature of the mind. Arjuna is a powerful warrior. Now what is he saying? Chanchalam himanah Krishna pramathi balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it I think is more difficult than controlling the wind. Now look at what Arjuna is saying. First of all, we have to consider the circumstances in which Arjuna is saying all this. He is saying this in Dwapar Yuga, where the environment was very conducive to peaceful living, and there was less distraction. And this was the age of kind of relatively better than Kali Yuga in terms of goodness. People were more peaceful relatively then. And in Dwapar Yuga, Arjuna is saying this, that my mind is very difficult to control. And who is he? He is a warrior who with his power could stop the raging wind. Now you see, there are many powerful countries in this world. They have the most advanced technology, but when a hurricane, a cyclone strikes, all they can tell their people is evacuate, just leave, locate the place, we can't do anything. With all their technology, they can't stop a hurricane, the raging wind. But Arjuna was qualified to do that. He had that power to do it. And still such a person, and that too in Dwapar Yuga, is saying that mind is very difficult to control. So how can people of Kali Yuga claim that they have their techniques and then they charge you money and they teach you those techniques to control the mind? It is more difficult to control the mind than to control the raging wind. If somebody says that he has some formula which he has figured out through his techniques to control the mind, then for that person it would be much easier to control the raging wind. But that's not the truth. So we have to understand the 4 words Let's just analyze them that Arjuna has used to describe the nature of the mind. Because unless we know the nature of the mind, we won't be able to deal with it properly. We have to go to the root cause. The first word he's used is chanchalam. How does the mind work? Chanchalam means, if you want to ever understand the nature of the mind, have a look at a monkey. One moment he's here, another moment he is just jumping on a tree, hanging onto a branch, attacking someone or eating something, then again jumping down. So this is a monkey, and that's what our mind is. One moment it's here, next moment it's somewhere else, some other part of the world. Chanchalam, it's never stable. It keeps jumping from one thing to another, like a monkey jumping from one branch to another. That's the nature of the uncontrolled mind, to not be satisfied with what it has at the moment and keep hankering for something else. Second word, turbulent, always disturbed. Even if we are sitting in a very peaceful environment, our mind, if uncontrolled, can be totally disturbed, and it might just create havoc in our life. Our mental health might just go for a toss. So even if you are surrounded by the most peaceful circumstances, the mind could be extremely turbulent. That's the nature of the mind. Obstinate means stubborn. It will do just the opposite of what it is told to do. You tell your mind, don't think of a negative monkey, don't think of you will end up thinking of those things only. And very strong. Very strong means how powerful it is. The scriptures compare the uncontrolled mind to a wild elephant. In this entire world, there's no creature which is more dangerous than a mad elephant. So the mind is compared to a mad elephant. Imagine you have a beautiful garden, a man enters. How much damage can he cause? Yes, he can cause a great deal of damage. What if an elephant enters? Greater damage. What if a mad elephant enters? The greatest damage. That's what mind is. If the mind is uncontrolled, and it is very difficult to control the mind, as Arjuna is saying, it can wreak havoc. And this is what is happening all over the world. The only enemy of a human being is his mind, the uncontrolled mind. Somehow or the other, if we can manage to control our mind in a proper way, there are ways described in the scriptures. Of course, I will not go into the details of mind control techniques, how the mind works, what is the nature of the mind. That's a separate lecture altogether. I might just put up a link to that lecture. I have already spoken about it. It's more than an hour long lecture, and but we'll focus on the ultimate solution that the scriptures have given. So unless we apply such a solution, it is very difficult. So the only danger is the uncontrolled mind. And 99% of the people in the world, I would say 99.99%, they do not have their mind under control. It's very difficult. And look at what Krishna says when he hears from Arjuna about the power of the mind. He says, Ashamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. He says, Lord Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind. Even the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, is saying, accepting that yes, it is indeed very difficult to control the mind. The Lord is also accepting this. That means it is a humongous task. It is not that easy as many people make it sound. It is a difficult task, so we have to take it seriously. But Krishna says it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So the answer is given in the Bhagavad Gita itself. I'm going to read the purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, what he says about this verse. And in this verse, the commentary to this verse, he talks about the ultimate solution to control the mind. There are so many people who will give you techniques, you deep breathing, do this, think like that, do that. But please understand, all those are superficial solutions. What I'm going to read to you right now is the ultimate solution to deal with the mind. And if you can practice this in your daily life, taking some time out every day, your mind will become your best friend. And your best friend means it will contribute to your growth rather than degrading you. Mind could be the best of friends if it controlled, and it could be the worst of enemies if uncontrolled. So mind could be a great asset, a controlled mind. And how to control it? Let's just hear from this particular purport. Prabhupada writes, the difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead Krishna. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, Paramatma, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the process of Krishna consciousness, devotional service, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service of the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna from scriptures like Gita, Bhagavatam, Mahabharata. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the matter mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. Some people try to focus the mind on nothing, think of nothing, become desireless, or focus on some formless aspect. That's very difficult. It's very easy to control the mind if it is focused on remembering Krishna, his name, his fame, his qualities, his leelas, pastimes, etc. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Lord. This attachment is called Parishanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental divine satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the activities of Lord Krishna and his names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. So essentially, if we want to keep your mind under control or bring it under control, we have to do 2 things, 3 things literally. We have to hear about him from scriptures like Gita, Bhagavatam on a regular basis, which all of you are doing already. Secondly, but which is more important than this, is to chant his holy names, the Mahamantra. And there are no hard and fast rules for this chanting. You can chant while walking, sitting, before taking bath, after taking bath, but there is only one rule. Try to hear the sound of the mantra when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is called practice. And whenever the mind wanders away, again bring it back, focus on the sound, and be detached from the inattentive chanting that you are able to do. Just focus on the mantra that you are chanting right now. Focus on the sound. And don't worry about what you have not been able to chant attentively. That's detachment. And practice is chanting. And number 3, regularly offer food to the Lord and eat it every day. If you think you can't offer everything inside your house, or the circumstances not such, or the food is not prepared purely, then at least offer something. You may offer some fruit, some flour, some dry fruit, milk, nuts, juices, at least sweets. These things can be offered, and take prasad, eat these things a little bit every day, so at least some every day you're getting some prasad. So this way we are getting purified, the internal cleansing will happen, and the more that cleansing happens, the more we become peaceful. So our mind definitely also depends on the kind of food we eat. So if you eat purified food offered to God, then that also cleanses the mind, that also cleanses our entire consciousness. Text 36. Asamshayatmana yogo dushparap iti me matihi vashyatmana tu yadata shakyo vaptum upayatah. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. This is my opinion. Again, Krishna is saying, somebody whose mind is under control is assured of success in terms of the goal of life. He is able to reach the ultimate perfection of self-realization, God realization. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. So, it is one of the most important aspects of a spiritualist, for a spiritualist on a spiritual path. So, nobody can attain perfection in spiritual life if he does not have his mind under control. And the best way to control the mind is to engage it in Krishna's service, hearing, chanting, and eating food stuff which has been offered to him. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.